Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us here on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman. Hope you're having a great Tuesday so far. Well, as we begin the month of love, scammers are hoping you'll use your hearts and not your head. In this week's 13 Crime Files, we speak with a victim of a romance scam about what others should be on the lookout for to avoid falling victim to Cupid's fake arrow. Rebecca D'Antonio had never been on an online dating site before, but with things going so well in her life, she thought, why not? With a good job and looking to buy a home, she thought having someone to share it with would be a dream. So she tried out OkCupid.
I wanted to be very thoughtful when it came to filling out the profile because I was not out to waste anybody's time. I certainly was not out to waste my time.
But because she went in depth with her profile, that allowed a predatory scammer to learn more about her, gaining her affection and trust.
It was not long before I met Matthew, and we had a great deal in common. You know, you put the usual stuff, your interests and whatnot. So, of course, we had a great deal in common.
And Matthew took advantage, finding the one thing that he knew would tug on Rebecca's heartstrings: children.
For me, there was a child involved. And was I going to be the monster that left a child in a innocent child in a bad situation that they had no part in creating?
Matthew said his child was in need, and Rebecca started out sending a couple $100, agreeing that Matthew would pay her back when they saw each other. But that day never came. In total, over a year, Rebecca lost nearly $100,000 to Matthew. She even had to file for bankruptcy.
I had a role to play in what happened to me. I'm very real about that. What people need to understand is that it was a role that was built for me. I didn't set out to be manipulated.
The emotional toll was extreme. Rebecca was being evicted, her credit card company was suing her, and she was contemplating taking her own life.
I had been stockpiling sleeping pills, and I was getting ready to take them. And I said to him, look, my world has imploded because of this situation. You keep saying you're coming. You're not here. I don't see you coming. I can't do this anymore. I have these pills. I think I'm just going to take them. And his final words to me were, well, you have to do what you have to do.
That last interaction was enough. Rebecca was lucky that she had a support system keeping her from making that awful decision. But she knows others do not, and hopes a lesson can be learned from her experience. Since the scam, Rebecca has rebuilt her life and has even become a proud homeowner. But she still has advice.
Put yourself first. Putting yourself first is not selfish. That love yourself enough to walk away.
In part 2 next week, we will speak with a reformed scammer about some of the tools that he used to pull in unsuspecting victims like Rebecca, who you just heard from there. In our second story for this evening, let's talk about protecting your money. It's that time of year when we all think about ways to save money. But is refinancing your student loans something that could help you? Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa explains how it depends on the type of student loan that you are trying to refinance.
Experts tell me relatively few borrowers are going to be in a position where refinancing a student loan makes sense. Kate Wood with NerdWallet says that's especially true if we're talking about federal student loans. She says refinancing them isn't going to make a lot of sense for a lot of borrowers because you would be giving up a lot more than you would potentially gain by changing the interest rate. Mostly, we're talking about losing federal protections.
Even for private loan borrowers, many are not going to have refinance math that works out even though interest rates are going a little bit lower now, they are higher relatively than they've been in recent years or even say 10 years ago. So you might not be looking at a better interest rate.
Wood says if you are a private loan borrower, you'll be interested in refinancing if you can bring down that interest rate at least half a percentage point. She says to do this, you'll want to also make sure you have a stable income and a relatively high credit score.
If you have private loans, refinancing is pretty similar to how it is with other types of loans, where it's really about the interest rate, how you look as a loan applicant. Is this going to make sense for you? With federal student loans, because federal student loans work differently from other types of loans, interest rate is almost a secondary consideration for some people.
Wood says that's because it's really more of a focus on that eventual loan forgiveness goal, or if you get sick with a major illness or you have a job loss, you are better protected and aren't going into default, facing collections right away. With this watch in your wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
We hope you're having a great evening. We leave you with a live look from our Mount Bigelow camera where the sun is almost fully down. We hope you'll join us for 13 News Live at 10 for more of your news and weather.